Well, time for another quick answer, and that's always putting me on thin ice when I say that because these are topics that are huge. I have talks that include much more detail. Of course, they go a lot longer, but these are just ideas in a quick form that might be helpful for you. So I thought maybe right now we'll take on something enormous, the climate change and environmentalism issue regarding Christianity. I can't tell you how many times I'm hearing things from parents saying their kids are really upset. They're saying, why get a job? Why get married? What's going on with the church? Why is God allowing this? Maybe God's not there. He's allowing the earth to be polluted and we're all going to die. And so I'm coming at it from obviously an older perspective, and I'm thinking, what? But this is what's being taught, and this is what's concerning a lot of kids these days. So real quickly, like I said, I have a longer talk, but real quickly let's go through some major points about Christianity and the environment. First of all, Christianity is not good for the environment. Is that what we're hearing? Well, that's not true. You think about Genesis. What does it say? We're supposed to be stewards of the earth. That's a challenge to us. We have a moral obligation to take care of the earth. And God creates a beautiful universe, creates a wonderful earth, and we're supposed to be in charge of that and do our best to take care of it. Other societies and other cultures do not do a good job with the earth. So I put our worldview up against any other worldview about this issue. Can Christians be environmentalists is a good book. I'll refer to that a little bit later. So Genesis is really good. Let's get to climate change, though, because that's the one that is causing a lot of problems for people. There's something like, if you look back in the history, just to get a kind of a bigger view of everything, it really changes your attitude, I think. I hope it would. Right now, we see this rise in temperatures, and that's all that we're told. Oh my goodness, look what's happening to the temperatures. And by the way, I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. That's not my goal today. I'm just saying let's talk facts. So we get a little portion of Earth's history, whereas if you were to move back, around 1000 AD, for example, there's a medieval warming period, so you had places like Greenland that were actually much greener than it is today. Then you went down to what they called the Little Ice Age, which is somewhere around the 1800s. It was so cold you could skate on the Thames River in England. And now we've come back out of that again. So if you look at the history of the earth, we have these cycles that seem to go up and seem to go down. Whereas students today, young people today, are only hearing about that up spike. And so they're a little worried. Okay, I understand that. Something else we ought to think about is how many different factors can affect the environment. So for us to always point to humankind or point to CO2 and saying, there it is, there's the issue. I think that's being pretty naive because there's so much volcanoes affected, ocean currents, water vapor. There's far more water vapor in the atmosphere than CO2. And these are just a few of the things. So, and the sun, I left out the sun. Wow, the sun is huge. It has a huge impact. So it's hard to come up with a good computer simulation that can figure in all these things to see what's going on here. Let me suggest one other thing, which I know is not terribly popular, but scientists are the ones telling us to trust them because they know best. Well, science has made so many mistakes in the past. So many mistakes. We ought to be very cautious before we hand over trillions of dollars to let them, quote unquote, solve things. I mean, think about eugenics. They were going to clean up the race. So we got eugenics. What about lobotomies? They were going to fix everything with lobotomies. The Kinsey report was supposed to be a scientific report about sexual attitudes in America. I mean, we've seen over and over again, science did not solve things. It does solve some things, but it doesn't have the ultimate respect in many cases for some of the problems they've done. I mean, think about what they've created, atomic bombs, for example. So, sure, science does some wonderful things, but it's got some problems as well. Global warming, here's something else to think about. Global warming may not be bad, may not be totally bad. I mean, you get more CO2. I've seen a chart of the earth. There's been a massive greening of a lot of places around the earth that hadn't greened up before because more CO2. Okay, something else to think about. Global warming may be, and I'm not going to say for sure, but may be a useful tool for scientists to get more funding. If you can create the idea of a panic, people will throw money at you. And oftentimes crises and huge events cause people to trust government responses. Somebody comes along and says, I have the solution, and so we run to that person. We've heard that before. Elect me and I'll solve all of your problems. So we ought to worry about that. I think it comes down to, let's use the money where it will do the most good. So let's take, for example, the Paris Accords. They're talking about $1 to $2 trillion a year. If all of all the nations on the planet would abide by this, and all of that money, year after year after year, by the year 2100, the estimate is that it would lower the Earth's temperature by 0.3 degrees centigrade, less than a degree, less than half a degree. And that's for the next almost 100 years, and that's spending all that money. There's got to be better ways to spend the money. If we look back in Genesis, God promises that he'll never get rid of the seasons of the earth, that the earth will abide. And so we can talk to our kids about that and grandkids about that. But let them marry, let them have jobs. Let them go out and make a change for the better in this world. The world can handle it, God can handle it, he's still in charge.